Girl, I love the way you do it. Do it. Do it. Hey. Hello, welcome welcome back to Lonnie G Speaks podcast. I'm here yet again to speak to you. You know what I'm saying? Happy whatever day it is that you're watching this or listening to this. It is Saturday for me, July 12th. And I know it's been a little bit since I've recorded an episode. And you're probably tired of hearing this from me. I'm tired of hearing it from myself. But, we're working on things. I am a human being. Okay? And the goal is to just show up once a week and tell the people what's going on, what downloads I receive, what divine wisdom I feel called to share. And I'm really excited to come to you today because not one of the topics, there's a few things that I want to cover, but the overall, as you can see by the title, the topic is about grace and discernment. And what brought this topic up for me was a couple of things. So, I was cleaning the other day and I had a download into my cranium that was like, what have you learned the past 6 months? Like, what did you learn, girl? And I was like, oh, that's a good question. And then I thought about the fact that I host these sister circles with my friends. They used to be just for people who I didn't know, but I craved in-person contact and communication and space. So I was like, let me just do it with my friends. And so I've been doing that for a few months now. I think this is our third one. And that was the question. I was like, that's what we need to talk about, is like what you've learned the past 6 months. Because we started off doing like, if you've been around the Loving the Journey, I guess train since like 2020, you would know that I did these like reflection workbooks at the end of every year. And like I held like a reflection workshop where you can like break down in detail what happened this last year, what you can celebrate, what are some things that you have to work on, what is your vision for this next year. So like we started off with that. I didn't do that for the public this year. I did that for like my close friends. And we didn't even get through the full thing. Like, cause that's the hard thing about hosting events sometimes, is like you want to get through everything, but I'm a yapper and I feel like I attract other yappers and we end up yapping all day. So we didn't get through everything, but we got through like most of the review portion. But now that we're halfway through the year and we are now in retrograde season, there's multiple planets going retrograde, and it's just, if retrograde season is like, for me and for many others, like that's the point, I think, is to reflect, is to look back, to take a moment to like reassess, to recenter, to gather yourself, gather your bearings. And I am of the belief that we can only move forward with clarity if we know where the hell we've been, what you done went through, what you've experienced, what has hurt you, what has brought you joy. Like all those things help us to get closer to ourselves. And that's really my desire for life. It's like really know myself intimately and to provide for myself what I need, which is the highest form of loving myself, I think. I want every Black woman in the world to love herself fully and out loud. And we do that by knowing ourselves on a deep level. And as a person who I feel like for the most of my life, I felt like they weren't curious about how to love me or show up for me. I learned that like I needed to be curious about how to do that for myself. And so that's what I've been doing intentionally since like 2019. And it's been a journey. It's been a journey. And so this year specifically though, I will say, if I'm being transparent, the first 6 months of this year it was an emotional roller coaster. Like it was a lot going on mentally for me, emotionally, physically not so much, but like, things that happen mentally and emotionally do manifest physically. So like as far as like pains in the body and stuff like that has happened, but thankfully I've had no health issues, thank you God. But I really think it's important for us to reflect on what these last 6 months have taught us. I think 2025 has been a crazy year, honestly. Like we ended 2024 in this stupid ass country electing that crazy ass man into office again. And then we go into just utter chaos, like in the country, like just chaos in that regard. And I did my best to unplug. I'm not gonna lie to you. I know a lot of people say like that's not activism. As a former activist, like I felt like I had sold out or something because I wasn't on the front lines anymore, fighting the power, or always using my platform to talk about the things. But it's like, as a Black woman who has my own woes and struggles, I will not be spending my time talking about this crazy ass country and what be going on. Like, I don't have the desire to do it. I have the desire to nurture myself, important to myself, and take care of myself. And I really do think that was one of the lessons for me for this year. Like, the invitation for me was to really figure out what it looks like to choose myself no matter what. And I've said this before, right? Like, that was the first lesson when I first started my healing journey. I had to choose myself. I had to learn how to choose myself, like, intentionally. And as the years go by, I continue to see the different ways that I don't choose myself and what it looks like to change that. Change that narrative in my mind and change the actions that I take in my life, and like, also, what is the balance, right? And so that brought me to today's topic of grace and discernment, like, because I feel like these past 6 months I've been learning what those words really mean in action. Like, having grace for myself, having grace for other people, having discernment about what is grace and what is complacency, what is grace and what is letting people run over me or take advantage of me, what is grace and or what is allowing humans to be humans, and like, nobody's perfect, but like, what is the line of that's disrespectful and I don't tolerate that, and you just made a mistake and we can come back from this. Like, relationships, and I'm a Libra child. I should look and see like what's going on in my seventh house. But relationships have been really important for me these past 6 months. And I don't know if you heard that. I'm sorry. I can't help that my neighbors be talking. But I have learned a lot, and I'm still learning a lot about what those things look like and how to have a good, healthy balance with my relationship with myself and making sure that I'm okay, and also nurturing and growing the connections and relationships that I have with other people. Because as a person who tends to like isolate, who feels like my only safe space is with me, and sometimes even I be fucking up my own safe space about the thoughts that I have, like, it's hard sometimes to trust people even if they've shown themselves to be trustworthy. It has been hard to trust myself as someone who, like, most of like my upbringing, like my formative years, I felt like I was socialized to not trust my feelings because they were seen as big and too much and dramatic and overwhelming and like all those things. Like, I just feel like nobody could take that. And so like I started to minimize my feelings, but my feelings have led me to such beautiful things, right? And as an adult in my 30s, as a grown ass woman, I'm now like, again, tapping into and honoring those feelings again. Like, it's a really a back and forth, because I've had seasons in my life where like nobody could tell me shit. Like, I know what I know, I know what I know, and I know what I know. And I have other times, other seasons of my life where I am doubting everything. And I really think that's just life. I don't think that's going to change. I don't think there will be an age that I will reach where it's like, oh yeah, I know that I know that I know, and I will never doubt it again, Like, because I have certainty sometimes and then I have uncertainty sometimes. And I think some of that is with the cosmos, right? Like, we're supposed to question things. There are seasons of our life where like things are like an illusion and it's not real, which I think life is not. Anyway, but I just wanted to share that piece, just like to give you a little background into like why we're here talking about grace and discernment today, and hopefully to give you some insight into your own journey with grace and discernment. And also, if you are a person that feels like you've mastered like what grace looks like and practicing discernment, like, just, or you just want to share some tidbits of knowledge that you have, that like maybe that this conversation that I'm having with the internet or with the world is prompting for you, please share them with me. Like, you can DM me, okay? I know I've been talking about Coach by Lonnie G on Instagram. I haven't been actively posting on there, and I don't know why. I've been actively posting on my personal page, Miss Yappington, but not really much on the business page, because I haven't been doing anything on the business front. If I'm being honest with you. Is that a subconscious little moment? I'm not lying. but I'm looking at my notes because, okay, so in the last 6 months, I have had relationships, like I've had multiple friendships that ended out of nowhere, and probably a little bit past the 6 month mark, probably like 6 to 8 months. Friendships that just I don't know where it ended, and I'm just like, wow, that's strange. Or like having very like a lot of tumultuous energy with relationships that I've built over the past few years, and it's made me feel like, what the fuck is going on, because in this process of me like learning myself or whatever, I'm also like changing, I'm evolving. Like that's my goal, one of my goals in life as well. And some of the people, specifically about this chapter of my life living in Houston so far, some of the people that I've met in my time here, I've noticed that they're not as receptive to my evolution as I would have hoped. Right. And it's one of those things where it's like, people who have a problem with you setting boundaries benefited from you not having them. And it's disappointing because it's some people that I thought like loved me unconditionally. And I think they did think that too. But I think they were just really comfortable with the version of me that put myself on the back burner. Like, and I didn't even realize I was doing it. Like, I thought that that was the right thing to do. And it's just, it's a balance, right? Of like, do I release these people from my life because I feel like they don't understand me or appreciate me or, love me with my boundaries? Or do I find a place for them because I still love them? Do I keep them in my life and have a place for them, but just understand where we at, I personally struggle deeply with that because as a person who I love with my entire being, and I expect people that like are in my close quarters to love me the same way, like it's very difficult to feel like I'm not being loved or appreciated for who I am. And because I've changed, that there's nothing left for us. I don't know if that makes any sense, but like it's just an interesting place to be in. And so it's been I feel like I'm finally in a place of understanding that people are going to people, I make mistakes too. I don't always rub people the right way. I don't always say the right things or whatever, but I try. And I think that is what is important when deciphering when to have when to extend some grace, right? Like if these people are trying to understand you or trying to hold space for you or trying to love you in the only way that they know how, that counts for something. Now, this is not saying you let anybody in a mama just because they've been through some things, they could treat you any kind of way. That is not what I'm saying. I want to be clear about that because I too have been a person that sympathizes with people who have experienced deep, big T trauma. And I'm like, well, that's why they show up the way they do, but I don't appreciate it. Right. And for me, the biggest determining factor outside of family, because I feel like that's just a separate thing, is when you express to these people like, hey, I don't like that. This doesn't feel good when this happens. This doesn't feel like love to me. And those people continue to show up in the way that makes you feel unloved, but also say they love you. Those are not your people. Those are not your people. And so it's important to, one, be willing to have the hard conversation because it is a hard conversation to have. It is so hard because you love these people and you care about them and you don't want them to think of you in a different way and you don't want to feel like, you're hurting them, but you're hurting. And I have been in that place many times where it's like, I'm tired of being the only uncomfortable one in the room. And I'm not trying to like, it's not like a misery loves company situation, but it's like, why do I have to be the one that's uncomfortable? Why do I have to be the one that's biting my tongue? Why do I have to be the one that is just turn the other cheek? You know what I'm saying? I would like to address what's going on and how I don't appreciate it. And what are we going to do about it? Because maybe you didn't know that you were doing things that I didn't appreciate. And I think that gives people a chance to rectify that, right? That is grace. That is grace. And you have to practice discernment on who deserves that grace and who doesn't. Some people are just downright disrespectful. And that there's nothing left to be said because the disrespect was the door closing. That was the closure. there was nothing else left to be said. So it's a process. It's like a teeter-totter. It's a back and forth. And you can practice it in small bits as well, right? Like, I'm also back into dating streets. Pray for me. But one thing that I've been valuing is really speaking my mind very early on. Like, that is not something I used to do. I would just be like, oh, I'm getting to know them. I don't, this is just how they are. But it's like, if you're wanting something more, like, I'm dating to eventually be married. I don't want to spend a lot of time investing in somebody when I don't really like the way they show up, and I'm not expressing to them that, like, hey, it would be beneficial for me if in this connection this was happening, because if you're expressing to me that, oh, hey, I don't really fuck with that, but this is like something that, like, is a value to me, then it's like, okay, we're not in alignment. But you'd never find that out. Oh, my TV child, I thought I saw some. You never find that out if you don't say what's on your mind. Say what you need to say, okay? Express yourself, be who you are. And that's another thing too that I feel like has been so empowering for me, is like, usually when I'm in spaces with like groups of people or like groups of friends where I feel like something has changed, and I'm like, I usually would just like dip out and like, I'm done with this, I'm never coming back. But I feel like that was an avoidant behavior of mine. And now I feel like if I address something and, it is what it is, and maybe nothing changes, but I still value this space, if that makes sense, I'm just going to show up being myself. I'm not going to perform anymore. Like, I'm just going to be myself. And if you love me, you love me. If you don't, you don't. Right? So I hope that that didn't confuse anyone. I'm trying to just express this and explain it the best I can. But I really hope that you take some time this week, or, in the next month or so. I mean, there's a lot of retrogrades happening. I don't know when they all end. I feel like August might be, a breath of fresh air with all these fucking retrogrades. But I hope you take some time to reflect. Like, what has life been teaching you lately? If you think from January to now, what what has been going on? And the best way, because like, if you're like, oh, I don't know what life has been teaching me, how do I know? It's like, think about the situations that have caused you pain. Think about the situations that have made you feel like they have felt challenging for you to experience. That is what life teaches you, because like, sometimes life kind of like squeezes down on you a little bit to like, like, mold you, to build you up, right? And life is not always going to be easy going. Like, I do believe that life should be easy and pleasing to me. I do believe that, but I also know that life comes with its hurdles. And so when those hurdles happen, like, every single one is not like a big ass lesson for life, but if it's something that you have, like, I believe that triggers are your, like, they direct you somewhere. And so if you're feeling so heavily triggered by something, like, you feel, I've had moments in the past 6 months where I was breaking down, and I'm just like, what the hell is going on? Like, I just have so many feelings. I don't feel okay. And I don't know what this is. What is it, And it's important to like explore that. Like, what am I feeling? I'm feeling frustrated. Why am I feeling frustrated? Because this is happening. Why is that frustrating to me? Because it makes me whatever, like, like, get to the root of it. Ask why again and again and again until you can't ask it anymore. Because then you can get clarity about you and what you need and what you want in this life and for yourself. And only you can provide that for yourself. Like, nobody's going to walk up to you and be like, hey, is this something that you want? Because you might not even know that you want that shit. Because you ain't asked yourself the damn question of like, what do I want? What do I need? Like, why am I so frustrated by this? Because I feel like I'm lacking this, Like, it's just, I think it's really important to be curious. It's very important to be curious with yourself, with others around you. And that really is a pet peeve of mine when people are not curious. Like, they don't ask questions. I'm just like, you don't give a fuck. And you're not here. You're not here because you're not curious. You're just like existing. And I'm just not the type of person that can do that. I have a lot of depth to me, and as I believe many people do, but I think people are afraid of their depth. I'm not. Like, sometimes I am. Let's be clear. Let's be clear. Sometimes I'm like, I don't know if I want to go there, and I have to take a minute. And I'm like, I know this is bringing up some things, but I ain't ready to go there yet. And that's okay, because, we got bills, we got jobs, we got things we got to do. And you don't always have it to just like, let me drop everything and figure out what I'm feeling right now, But I think it's important to prioritize that for yourself. And so for me, having these sister circles is a great place for me to really talk about what is really going on, with me. And so divine timing is real. Being present for what is being revealed to you is real. And I just hope that you all take some time to reflect. These past 6 months have been what for you? How have they left you feeling? What are you excited to do? Like the summer is a time, like the spring and the summer to me, but like the summer is a time I feel like for celebration and also to continue to nurture the seeds that you planted in the spring, right? Like what are the things that you really wanted to have for yourself this year? It's like a great checkpoint too of like, am I working towards those things or am I moving away from those things? And if I'm moving away from them, that may be okay if that maybe is no longer in alignment with me, but like, where am I going? Because I think it's important to have a direction. Like, if you just existing in life, like that's no fun. I don't think it's fun. It can be fun for you, but okay, I'm rambling now. But that's all I wanted to share. I do hope that you all are doing well. I hope that you are finding places to have peace, finding places to have joy, finding places to just feel loved and supported. So that is all. I hope you have a great day. I will see you next week. Bye. Oh, well, I think that's it for real. Bye.